Hey, welcome to Tips from the Bar. We are starting outside.
That's
for
right.
Reading classes.
Okay. I was just saying, those are really blue, and I haven't.
I'm like a blue shirt guy, so
yeah.
I'm a big fan of blue.
These
CCSK
were my.
Law.
I'm in blue today.
These are one of my wife's pairs that I took.
Yeah. Kind of a purplish blue.
I was just trying to find something that works glasses wise.
Yeah.
But we're outside at Misbehaving Meads, our home away from home, and we hope to stay outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
It's ominous. That's all of us. We all used that word to describe the clouds as we were walking over here.
It's kind of blown by now.
Kind of blown over. The wind shifted, temperature dropped just a little bit, but
Nice.
it looks like we may be okay. We're hoping so, but we're outside. It's our weekly foray into chats about the law and a few things that are not always law.
And a number of things that aren't.
But tips
Last
from the
week
bar.
we didn't get to do outside because it was raining.
Oh yeah, I wasn't here last week.
No, but we did. We
I
did.
missed you reported.
Clancy's, and that was good.
Yeah. That was good.
But we did have to sit outside. We could have sat outside because it wasn't raining at the moment, but everything had been pretty much drenched.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. No, wasn't gonna happen.
So so here's my weekly foray to see who will be able to be tagged. And this is not a week where that's going to happen.
I don't know. Facebook stock dropped pretty significantly over the last few weeks. So,
Yeah, it did with the number of.
Let's assume that they're not focusing on fixing the tagging options.
They might be a little
See,
distracting.
right. Oh, yeah. I can tag Misbehaving Meads.
Awesome.
Good.
But
None of us.
I couldn't get Isaac.
I'm not really even here.
It's a hologram.
That's right. I thought meant mentally.
It's funny how many other Kurt.
Oh, that's probably true.
Kurt Cobain. I can tag him.
Oh, good. He's here with us in spirit.
Yeah. Or Kingsville.
That's what it is.
Man, that was
As soon as
good.
I'm saying, I'm like, wait, that
Kinda
smells
smells
it, right?
Kinda
That
smells
was
like
it.
that,
That was
doesn't
his
it?
Yeah,
band,
it
right?
smells a little bit like that.
Yeah. So I'll have to plug back in with myself on the other side. And
The funny thing, so I remember while you're doing that, I'm gonna you tag. I'm gonna go into old story mode here. So I can remember I was
Welcome
living
to
in
old story mode.
way back in the day.
Oh, I almost ended it.
Did you end it? Don't end it.
It gave me.
Don't end it.
They made it a little dummier proof.
Oh, nice. That's
So
cool.
they
We're
gave
good.
me the
We're still
option.
here.
So I was living in Florida, and I had a buddy that was like, "Hey, I want to go get this CD." And you know, we were, I don't know if I forget what year it was. We were young. We weren't driving, and so we had to take the bus in to downtown Fort Myers. And so we were on the bus. I'm like, "What CD are you talking about?" I hadn't heard of Nirvana. That was like brand new,
yeah.
just released. And then he started playing it for me, and I was like, "What is this noise?" It was terrible. It was my first time I heard it, I thought it was terrible. I didn't understand because I'm coming from a lot of the hair bands of the '80s were starting to play power ballads and stuff like that, so a little more melody to them. And then this weird band comes out with this music, and of course I ended up falling in love with the music and really enjoyed it, and still listen to it a lot. But yeah, it was interesting because I remembered that about a year and a half later when I started to really enjoy it. I was like, oh, this is that band that he was talking about.
Yeah.
It had me listen to, and I was like, what?
So the question was, do we have anything to talk about? And it's August already.
Yeah.
No. It's
August already.
almost halfway through August already.
Well, almost halfway through.
Halfway
So
It's
last
halfway through
Tuesday was the
okay.
last day of July, so this is our first broadcast of August. And
That's true.
my niece has already gone off to college. Like she started her freshman orientation
Wow.
down at IUPUI.
Yep.
There's my daughter's going to make a run down to Purdue this coming weekend, just take some stuff down. Her roommates she has two roommates in the marching band, so they actually have to be there this coming weekend.
We have friends
and they have
in
like a
Indy
week.
Their kids started August 1st.
Yeah. There's schools.
There are some schools starting
There are some
August
schools
1st.
already in session.
I
which
remember
doesn't
it was
make any
always
sense.
after Labor Day.
Yeah, that was the time.
That was kind of the thing.
We had to get there.
Yeah.
We had to
Something
get
like
the
that.
harvest in before we could go to school.
Not quite that.
That's kind of what the school year was originally based on.
Yeah. It's
Like
why you
everything's
have
so
summer off.
agrarian
Right. Yeah.
based.
It's winter. You're not doing anything anyway. Come over to school and learn something.
Yeah. You gotta go home early and help dry the corn in the field. She didn't really help dry corn in the field. But anyway, that said, like people are going off to school, and this time last year I was like, next year I'm going to plan ahead.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that my daughter's going away to school for the first time last fall. she'll be doing that again here in the next week or so. But it came to my attention that she's 18, and it was brought to my attention by her bank, and then her school, Purdue, and
You did not realize it
medical.
before.
Right.
That was not
Well, 18. You all know 18 is a big deal, but there's a great. You become of the age of majority, which means you are your own legal person, and there's a number of things that have been sort of added into that component now. So your health information is protected, your financial information is protected, your education information is protected, meaning I could pay for my daughter's school, but they don't have to tell me she's actually in school. I can't get grades. I can't request grades. So there's lots of things there. So those are little things. But the really important thing is you send the child away, or the child moves out of the house, or maybe the child's still in the house.
No
but
longer a
18,
child.
Now they're an adult.
Yeah.
And so if there was some accident or something to happen, your child ends up in the hospital, the world of HIPAA kicks in, and you don't have the right to know certain things. You don't have the right to decide for your child anything at that point either. So I worked with Greg Farrell at the time. He and I were talking about this, an advisor around the corner on Lincoln Way. And I put together a little package for young adults. You don't have to be going to college. You're 18. It doesn't matter what you're doing next.
Yeah.
It's there. So, but one of the things that we talked through was making sure that these documents were signed at that age.
Right.
Hey, Lindsay. Just saw what she said.
How do we sound? We're looking for a sound.
We sound all right. I think we sound all right. I heard a little bit on the phone.
I hope I'm not feeling raindrops.
I just keep
It's just in your head. It's just in your head.
There's something on the screen, but I can't touch it. Oh, no, it is. Back raindrops.
It is.
Oh, my wife's on here too. She was.
Anyway, so
we have 4 people watching right now. It's me, you, and my wife. And
we're flirting with losing our signal too. So hopefully it's not pixelating too poorly.
It's not right
too
now.
much.
Sounds great,
She
though.
says it sounds good. So
All right.
Lindsay said that.
So anyway, something for parents to consider. And here's the thing: you can't make your kids sign this because they are adults. They're not kids; they're adults. But it's something
I can
to
hear that
discuss with
conversation
them,
right now.
You will sign this right now.
Do you want to go back to college this year?
Right. So something in
Unless
the
that's what my house is.
FERPA rules. In the FERPA rules, it says that FERPA, it's the Federal Education Rights Protection Act or something like
More
that.
than a
FERPA,
funny sound.
Getting all sorts of rules sprinkled.
I don't think that was in place when I was younger.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Heck, even if they would have let it.
It wouldn't have
happen when
mattered.
we were younger.
Right.
You're in my household, and you will.
I'm paying the bills. I get to know. Shit. And if they won't give it to me, you better.
Anyway, so in doing some research on it, if you are a dependent or if your kids are a dependent still, even if they're at school in a way, if you claim them as dependents, they can make a general waiver of FERPA for the period of time that they're a dependent.
Oh.
If they are not a dependent, they have to sign this FERPA waiver each year. So it's good for a school year.
Oh, that's good.
So that's something I discovered, and have put together a little power of attorney that covers the capacity for the person to waive that right and for you to talk to their school. A HIPAA waiver, which is ultra important in the world today. Many more people have run into a situation where they're still paying their kids' insurance. They get a bill from the insurance company, and they call and say, "Hey, what's this about? Why do I need to pay you $200?" Well, we can't tell you why you need to pay us $200, but you just need to do it. Take our word for it. It was your child, but even that would be a violation of HIPAA to say that your child was actually had an insurance claim. So it's very not helpful, but it is what we deal with. So it's important to have that conversation, and in the worst case scenario, and actually this just came up recently again, where somebody was in. I just was talking to a friend who's dealing with a family situation. Someone was in an awful accident. The child, I'm going to say he's in his mid-20s, is in a coma, and there's no one with any authority to say, here's what we want to do. So that's those are the things that you want to try to address. I have a little package because I'm all about packages. I have a little package for young adults that would include that all-encompassing power of attorney, the HIPAA waiver, and then also this living will.
And a fidget spinner.
I need
there you
one
go.
myself.
We definitely have to go on for Isaac.
We're targeting young adults.
My ring is my fidget spinner. If I ever talk to anybody, if I'm doing a presentation, I will. It's like Wonder Twin powers.
It's like the Rock and his Cubs.
Yeah. So that's something to be aware of. It'll sneak up on you, and it's one of those things easy to put off, like all planning. I was talking to somebody the other day. They're like, "Oh, we've been putting this off for a long time, and we're the worst." I'm like, "No, you're just like everybody else. Everybody puts planning off." So it is something to consider. And again, not just because your child's going off to college. Your child could be around town and working, hopefully. I'm sure you're saying, and
Playing Fortnite, the baseball
could in fact still be living with you, but none of those things will override the fact that they are in fact their own legal person for all things health, finance, education, and so.
I mean, this technically. I mean, if you got somebody that's turning 18 while they're still in high school, this can apply while they still got half a year left in high school.
Very well could, yeah, exactly.
So depending on their age, so
And
it's something that
there's not necessarily a waiver for high school, but sometimes they just sort of
look the other way.
pretend like there is, I guess.
But the HIPAA waiver would still be something to look at.
HIPAA is definitely not
That's
something
definitely
you're
not
going to get past.
You have to be able to have
And even decision making. I mean, so again, let's go back to the person that's been in the accident. Before he got to that coma situation, there was times where doctors were trying to do something and needed to talk to someone, and now you've got to figure out who that someone is. And there's no automatic decision maker once you're past that age. In Indiana, your parents, your spouse, your kids, your siblings, your grandparents all have an equal vote. Anybody else who's 18 and meets that class have an equal vote.
Which
in
if
your health.
anybody within any of those categories, you don't want to make decisions.
That's the other part of it,
decisions on
right?
your behalf.
What if that one person that you didn't want to be making decisions is the one that's available? And there are those stories that are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I try not to make stuff up, but I'm not.
I think in my
This is
house,
legit.
my kids would be like, "Dad, we love you, but we want Mom to make this decision." I'd be like, "Cut it out. We're good to go." They'd be like, "Well, no."
No, there are people that, and it doesn't have to, it's like your healthcare decision. Well, for this youth package, by default, I normally just set it up for a parent or parents. You can do it and/or sort of situation. But that also makes it easier if only one parent's there. You don't have to wait till both parents are there.
Yeah.
So again, that's something to consider. If you have divorced parents, maybe they're with one, with the other, one's closer, one's not.
I've run into this with parents that are getting guardianship over a special needs child.
Right.
They run into the same issue. They both want to be guardian, but then you both got to be there to make decisions, and it can be complicated.
Right.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that people have to think about.
So that's something to think about, be aware of. Maybe next year I'll get out in front of it a little bit more before people actually start leaving for school.
Try to get it
ahead of time. So, but if it is something you're interested in, you can drop a note in there. You can drop us a note on our website, CCSKLaw.com.
Call us at 219-230-3600.
Give us a buzz. Drop us an email. Whatever it might be happy to put. It's real quick. It's an inexpensive package, relatively speaking to a lot of other legal things that are out there. I'm more bent on trying to get it out in front of people.
And it's especially cheaper in comparison to what happens if you don't have those documents in place.
Yeah.
And you have to go through a guardianship process, which is through the court. Because a power of attorney, you just sit down, you sign it, notarize it. I mean, we can do all that out of our office.
It doesn't take very long.
Guardianship?
It's going to take
you got to go to the courthouse. I'm pouring to the courthouse right now.
Right.
That's where you would have to go, and you have to wait for hearings and actually have the court approve a guardianship.
Whatever investigation the court's going to have to do.
Right.
Whatever.
So they do accountings and auditings, perhaps, as well.
And when you're dealing with, it's one thing to have someone that's looking for guardianship and they have a special needs child and there's a physician statement that the child's impaired, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's a simple process. When you get to the point where you've got a competent or previously competent party, and now you're trying to go, then you've got other people that should be given notice on it. It gets more hairy, it gets more expensive, it gets more timely. And you know, in situations where time is of the essence, that can be a big problem.
I was having a conversation with a client today, a potential client today, and it was a mother and her son, and there was some conversation about guardianship to help.
It was conversation.
It was a conversation.
Conversation.
We'll classify it as conversation.
Conversation.
It may have been a conversation that people in adjacent rooms could hear, but that's okay.
It was
Passionate conversation.
It was passionate.
About passionate topics.
But this would be an idea. This would be the perfect example of this guardianship is not going to go. If you and so what I was trying to help them understand is, let's say you want to start the process. It's not an emergency.
Nope. Right.
We're not going to get a temporary appointment.
Nope.
We're going to have to go get in the court calendar. We're going to have to make some case to try to sneak in earlier than what the normal calendar would kick out, which is in our little courts here, it's a month. I mean, you're not going to get a hearing for a month unless there is an emergency and they can wedge you in. But we don't have that factor. You're going to go to that first hearing. You hope that everybody shows up, including the person that is trying to get the guardianship over them. The court's going to appoint somebody to do some research. You're going to have another month for that to happen, another month on the back end.
Probably 2 if they do a guardian ad litem.
I would agree.
It's not going to take 2.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to pay for the guardian ad litem.
Yep.
You're going to have to pay an attorney to go through all this process. You're going to pay for filing.
Paying attorneys, it's the worst.
They are. But
then you got to go to the hearing. And then you got to have your case argued. I mean, it gets emotional.
It's going to
you got
it's not going to be pretty.
Sisters, there. It's just.
So what I said was, at minimum, if the wind was all going the right direction and there wasn't any contentions, you're 90 days from a decision.
Yeah.
That's not going to help where they were today. So that was part of the conversation you all might have heard, was that the guardianship conversation needed to be off the table. There were more important things that needed to be dealt with in the immediate. So again, that's one of the things that we try to do, help people understand, oh, we've heard about guardianship. Oh, we've heard about this. Well, here's what you need to actually know about that. Time, expense, contention, all the stuff that's going to go into it and what's going to unwind it.
And and I want to just bring this up because it's a good time to do it with the conversation we're having. Is that
they call that a segue.
Perspective, it's a wonderful segue. In that, yes, people need to know that, but here's the problem: the people that need to know that, how do I say this? You have a lot of families with special needs children that are assuming it's that difficult, it's that much of a pain, it's that crazy
the other way. Right.
And so I really want them to understand, because that's something that I deal with, and it can be fairly inexpensive and fairly fast. So usually we can get you in and out in a month, maybe sometimes a little bit less, depending on the age of the child and where they're at. And so, definitely. I mean, don't be afraid of doing a guardianship, especially when you're in that situation, because you want to get that in place. Especially they're turning 18, you want to do it just as soon as you can after they turn 18.
But the underlying theme between both of these is preventative measures.
Exactly.
It's preventative to say, we're getting this trust in place for the special needs. That's good planning.
And the guardianship.
Right? Or through the guardianship.
You're pointing the wrong way for the trust.
Trust
is this way. Guardianship is this way.
Sorry, when special needs trust, a whole different thing.
That's a whole other conversation.
But special needs guardianship versus getting power of attorneys in place. These are all preventative measures that are just good planning, and in comparison to what happens if you don't have them in place.
Right.
And this
that's where
it stems back to what we talk about, where people are just a little nervous about calling attorneys.
Right.
And that's what we try to alleviate with this here, so you can feel comfortable enough with us to say, hey, we're going to give these attorneys a call and ask questions.
You bring up a great point too, because it brings up a term that people may use universally that's not universal. Guardianship.
It's a term we heard earlier.
Oh, what's it?
Remember airship?
Airship.
We heard airship. Somebody said that they've gotten their, that we have begun our airship.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
We heard a term earlier and realized.
H-E-I-R.
Yeah, it was a processing of a document of affidavit of airship. But guardianship can apply to somebody at 18. It's going to apply to somebody in their 30s. It's going to apply to somebody at an older age too.
Apply to an 8-year-old.
It's going to be any place in the mix. It's going to mean something different to how you're going to deal with the court, what the time frame is going to be.
There's different processes. There's different terminology.
Sure.
I mean, you have a guardianship for a minor versus a guardianship for an incapacitated adult. there's different processes, there's different requirements, and so that's really, there's different notice requirements. There's a lot of differences, and that's where you need to give us a call and say, hey, this is my situation.
Right.
We can at least offer a path to understanding where to go next.
So I was on the golf course yesterday, and much like this stuff rolling through, except it was much worse. It actually got very bad. We were. It doesn't always happen like you're at the furthest point on the golf course from actual shelter, and we're trying to squeeze a few more in, and then I look back and I see an actual lightning bolt, and I said, "That's my indicator. We're done. We're going inside." And it was only about 20 minutes, and we're back out. But in that period of time I was sitting there, I met a gentleman. I met him before we started chatting. He was talking about some of the new effects of withholding on, the new tax rules on withholding. Is he having too much withheld? And so there's a couple of guys that work together, and so this conversation came up. In the course of conversation, we started talking about the fact that he has two disabled children. And so as we were talking about the withholding conversation, I said, there's a few other things you probably need to investigate regarding taking care of and planning for that. And tossed a couple of examples out to him. He says, we need to chat about that, because that's a concern that I have. I didn't really know. I will tell you also, and this is another one of the stories, and it's probably the third or fourth person I talked to recently who said, there is not good information out there about what is going on. And
I think the problem is there's so much information that there's wrong information, because people will go out and they'll look for
there's that. There's
they'll get
definitely
information from Texas, which is not the same as Indiana. And,
but I'll go to something along the lines of I'll go to the line of like Able accounts, which is not that product's been out there for almost it'll be 4 years in December. People don't know about it. They've never heard of it, and the people I'm talking to should have not only heard about it, they should have considered where it fits into their planning. In a lot of cases, it's not. When you have parents taking care of adults,
we should do a seminar based on special needs life change, where they're changing from children to adults. We talk about the able account, we talk about the guardianship, and we kind of give them the kind of, this is what you need to do. We should probably do something like that.
Yeah, we should.
That'd be a good.
I'll actually be up at, what's the day? Adult day somewhere. Caring Hearts. Up in Portage. I'll be up there. It's the third Tuesday. Is this the first Tuesday? So 2 weeks from today, I'll be up in Portage. It's too bad that our schedule because we're going to be in. This is scheduled for Portage next week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, where are we at?
I think it's El Salto.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh, I do like El Salto.
I'm kind of excited about that.
That's where we're going. I'm not getting my hopes up. We've messed up the scheduling before, so
Right.
I gotta double check.
I think I was waiting for Lindsay to chime in.
Hold on. My friend Mike Reed
Mike's
watching this.
There you go.
Old friend of mine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Old friend of mine.
That's right.
So, so I think I'm in Portage 2 weeks from today at Caring Hearts. We're doing this monthly, and it's short on presentation, long on questions and answers. It's open to the public, so and it's not just special needs, but it's all sorts of things along these lines. The primary population that originally started coming to that were, again, dealing with adults who are aging into long-term care needs, and but we also have adult children with special needs that benefit from that program as well. So that's next. It's we do it at 5 o'clock because normally I can get back. But it's super great if we're in Portage.
It wouldn't make sense.
That would make sense. But
we could ask Lindsay, but last time we asked her, she
got it wrong.
Love you, Lindsay. Sorry.
You're the best. She coordinated the whole thing.
You are. I mean, she's always on. Just giving her a little crap.
So we should talk about that. We can do like a little video webinar sort of thing that helps.
We could do a video webinar. Maybe we could, I'm gonna float to a couple of my clients that I know are in the industry. They work with different facilities. See if they put something together.
I had a client whose child's involved in Special Olympics, and we've been missing each other. But we were talking about these things, and she's like, again, I would have thought even like the Special Olympics would have said, hey, here's a resource that can help you understand. But they've got their things going on in the arenas. Certainly, maybe you're under the umbrella.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say it's comfortable.
Yeah, you're fine over there.
What you're talking about.
We're gonna squeeze it
It's in your head.
Right, it's on my head. Probably on my glasses.
It is. I can see a drop on your glasses.
There's a topic Lindsay had posted earlier that she was laughing so hard at this too. I was just giving the explanation for the difference between what the criminal system works as and versus the civil system, which is an explanation that a lot of people actually mix this stuff up, or it's never been explained to them in this manner. But she was dying laughing. We'll see how many of you get a big kick out of this.
I'm ready to laugh.
I don't know if we have time. We have to continue this to next week.
I'll get
I'm really getting rained on it.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
How are we doing? Oh,
I'm afraid if we can turn this, we can tilt it back, but I don't think it's.
I don't think it would help. I just open up more
Yeah.
exposure. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Some prepped a long discussion.
Knock it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's raining, if it's about raining, let's do it.
Quick glimpse into it
Teaser.
is that the criminal suit is because you've offended society. You've offended people. The state of Indiana or the United States government. Right. To the society that we live in. Society has come up with rules. We said, hey, don't murder people, don't rob people, don't do these things. And if you do them, you've offended society, and society says, all right, we're not going to punish you by a representative of the people. The prosecutor is going to come against you and put you in jail. Versus civil, which is against the.
Or sometimes you can do probation and stuff.
Yeah, there's other things. If you've offended the people, Kurt's our guy to talk to here. But in the civil instance, that the victim is going to give a redress, a monetary redress. I mean, they're going to go against you because they can't put you in jail. I can't put Kurt. I'm not the government. Yeah, but if he.
No, that's called kidnapping.
That's called kidnapping. I don't have the authority to do that. But what I do have the authority to do,
false imprisonment.
I can sue him and get money damages, or sometimes what's called equity. If he took my property, I can get that back. But that's a civil case.
I'm getting.
He's getting. I can hear.
Anyway, that's a quick glimpse into it. We can go into a long discussion of it next time, which I know is going to be exhilarating.
Until next week.
We'll see you next week too. CCSK Law. Dryer. Have a good night, everybody.
219-230-3600. All right, not gonna.
I just said cancel instead of end.
Oh, see, we're still on.